This is obviously one of the biggest, if not the biggest, X-Men story in the comics. Did you guys go back and read the Dark Phoenix saga in preparation and pull from that?
Well, I'd read it years ago, and then I read it again when I got Apocalypse, and then no.
Yeah, for me, my character doesn't appear in it, so no, there wasn't any sense of me going and finding source material that didn't include my character in terms of research.
What I find so interesting about your character is a very obscure comic character and pulls from various different threads. For that, did you lean more on what Simon has written for the script and how he worked it rather than the comics, I assume, then?
Absolutely. Yeah. And then also, too, like, a lot of Google searches. You know what I mean? Like about, different alien species in that world and all that.
Sophie, you mentioned Apocalypse. When you signed on for that, was this always like part of the pitch? When you signed on, you knew you'd get to do the good stuff?
No, not at all. I never knew. I they had the Last Stand, and so I just kind of assumed that it was done and over with. But I was really excited when they told me because, in the Last Stand, the Dark Phoenix storyline was a subplot, and in this, it's the main plot. And, it being one of the most loved kind of comic books in the X-Men world, it definitely felt right to do it again. I was so excited.
And what's so exciting about this one is that Simon is writing and directing, so you have a very sort of driven direction, which you don't normally get on movies of this scale. How was that for both of you, working with him and being able to shape this central relationship in the story?
It's great. I love working with writer-directors because you can have a conversation and something comes from that, and then the next morning Simon would show up to work and be like, hey, I wrote some pages that I think could be interesting for this direction we're going. So I love that kind of, that fluid way of working.
Yeah, it's just like you're constantly evolving with him. The script is constantly evolving and being chopped and changed in whatever way kind of we all liked, and that was amazing. He's so collaborative. That was something that is often quite rare in directors, and he was great.
Could you elaborate a bit on that more in terms of the collaboration? What were you able to introduce to the character that perhaps wasn't in the script, both of them?
Gosh, it was probably just little things, like Simon and I would sit down for like 2 hours every day and just comb through kind of each page of the script, and then if I felt like, oh, Scott and Jean need to have a moment here because this happens later on and it would make sense, he would be like, yeah, no problem, and he'd rewrite it. I mean, there was rewriting being done all the time.
For me, the look of the character was something that I brought to Simon, and we worked together to hone in on it. And then things about maybe the clinical nature of her, this idea that she wouldn't be very emotional, because when I read the script, I was like, it's a very emotional script. So I think it's nice to have a character who sees that as a weakness, and is giving another kind of performance for that to go off of.